Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Silverback Talks. Tonight, I am pleased to have with me Ted Chmielnicki and Nick Johnson from Carolina Rollers. Fellas, how are y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. How about you?
Very good. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here.
Hey, I just want to apologize for having to reschedule on us. So you know how it goes. One person has to delay, reschedule. It's a domino effect after that. So I appreciate y'all being flexible, being able to meet tonight. So thank y'all very much. Let's get right down to it. We'll start with Ted. Ted, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been in the arm wrestling game, and where you're out of, and try not to steal too much about your team from Nick, too.
Yeah. I got you. Ted Chmielnicki. I kind of go by Patriot or Unapologetic Patriot. I've been doing this for about 3 years. I'm the, I guess you could call it co-captain. Nick's kind of the coach. I'm kind of the captain, kind of deal, whatever, of Carolina Rollers out of Dunn/Fayetteville. I'm a competitive arm wrestler. I try very hard not to say professional because I do not get paid to show up. So I compete for money or prizes. There's a difference.
I like that. Never heard that before. I like that. Very fair.
I'm a competitive arm wrestler that's above amateur and not quite pro.
That's fair.
So,
very fair.
yeah.
I like that a lot. I really do. I like that. Yeah.
So we love bringing as many people as we can onto the team and into the sport. We've got competitions coming up, Nick and I, and man, we're just doing our thing. We're grinding out every day, you know.
And right now, your weight classes. What are you pulling right now, Ted? I know you bounce around a little bit. You're like me. We can play with our weight a little bit. You're pretty good at playing with your weight too.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wish I could say I'm pretty good at it.
You play with your weight. How about that?
Yeah. It's more like I bloat, and then when I have to cut, I cut. So I'm ranked right now in North Carolina, number 4 right-handed, number 5 left-handed in 231, or what is that, 105 kilos. So that's where I'm ranked right now. Right now, that I was supposed to be pulling. I'm not going to take too much of your airtime here, but so at this throwdown at Redmond's, I was supposed to be pulling Delfino Islas for number 3. Then it went to he got injured. Then I went to Derek Lyles for number 2. I know I'm not good enough for Adam yet for number 1. So I didn't even bother there. Then it went to Jacob Green, who I thought I had a really good shot against as far as his hand, didn't know about his arm. Then it went to Nick Brown, and now it's at Logan Buckaloo. So, like, I've gone through the entire slew of I was cutting, I was bulking, I was cutting,
Wasn't Hauser in that mix somewhere too?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Jonathan Hauser was in there too. You're right. Yeah. So, yeah.
I was thinking there was one more. Nick, tell us about yourself, bud.
So like Ted said, I'm kind of the coach of Carolina Rollers, co-captain. We don't go by titles too much. We're all just good buddies. We get together, we pull hard, you know, we all bring out the best in each other. As far as pulling experience, this past January made 4 years since the first time I had ever touched a arm wrestling table. So I'm going on nearly 4.5 years now. And like Ted said, we got a bunch of tournaments and super matches coming up, all things we're excited for. Love all my guys. I seen Shane commented. Big shout out to him. I'm rooting for you. I'm a big Shane Owens fan. So
big Shane Owens fan.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of having Shane on yesterday, and just like y'all, how do you not love Shane Owens?
Bro, he is looking stellar. He is looking so good right now.
Looks great. He looks great. Clearly feeling good. He said he got in 7.5 miles of cardio yesterday. I was like, that's insane. It's great. Good for you, Shane. Keep it up, buddy. Kill him next weekend, buddy. Or this weekend, excuse me, Saturday.
Yeah, 2 days.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. That's a great lineup too. That's a great lineup. I'm interested to see how Robbie does as well. That's a great lineup. Shout out to Chance Shaw and them, the boys down there in Florida doing a great job.
I'm gonna get the pay-per-view, but I won't be. I hate this because every single time that these events happen, I have to turn off my socials while I'm at work.
Yeah,
and then come home and watch the replay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so I ignore all of you for that entire Saturday, and then I come home and watch everything, and I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. So looking forward to hanging out with y'all guys next weekend too, because all 3 of us will be in Asheville. So that's gonna be that started. I'm not gonna say smaller.
Yeah.
And I think we said 10 matches where Redmond was telling me when he was putting it together, he was targeting 10 matches, and now it's up to 20 matches.
Well,
And
it seemed like every time he announced one, he was like, "Oh, this is the last one, guys. This is the last one." And then he's like, "Oh, now we got an after card," you know. And I was like, "Whoa!"
and the ranked, and not just, well, I'd say it's primarily North Carolina ranked pullers in it, between both of y'all, and then Dobie's got a match.
Yep.
I mean, I can keep. I mean, we got Virginia, #1 in Virginia, with Lucky coming in, pulling Hannah Preza, who I'm happy to see get back on the table after a little break.
She's in chat too. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real. I'm anxious to see Redmond's daughter. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing Mackenzie pull live, so I'm really excited about that.
CJ's son is pulling for the first time, his first super match.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
He's pulling his first super match. This weekend, I just don't want to take anything away from Redmond's at all, but this weekend, not only do we have the Port City Pullers put on a tournament over in the beach where Nick will be reffing there, but after that, Nick is taking that car of his and putting it on the pins and driving straight to my house to come ref my brother's first super match, in which he is trying for the #5 left-handed position at 209 for North Carolina. So
plug your brother a little bit. I don't know much about him. I see him pop up on like the suggested friends, but I don't know much about him at all.
So my brother is 17 months younger than me. We both grew up the same way. We both grew up, hard, and we're fighters and this, that, and the other thing. And we always loved competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We usually fought each other when we were kids, but, this, that, and the other. But, he's been in PA. He's a war veteran, a combat decorated veteran.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love him to death. I mean, he's a hero of mine for sure. And, for the first time in years, we're actually in the same state again. He moved here to North Carolina, and I got to share a Thanksgiving Day table with him last year for the first time in 20 years. So that was a really special thing for me. Family's a big deal for me. And we no longer have our parents, so it's a big deal for us to be around each other again. And he fell in love with the arm wrestling, and he kind of did it in a bar a lot, but he never really did any arm wrestling, And then he fell in love with it. Pulled with us a couple of times. His right is much weaker because of an injury that he sustained in war. So that's probably never going to be anywhere near the level of his left. But his left is super strong, super aggressive, and super solid. And we do have good genes with our hands and wrists. So, he's got basically the same thing going for him. And his left is very, very, very dangerous. And I think it's gonna do very well in the 209 class.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Who is he pulling this weekend?
Kurt Welsh.
Kurt Welsh. I was thinking Kurt was the #5.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Keeper, at #5 for 209. Good, really good. Kurt. I like Kurt a lot. Good guy.
So do I. Yeah.
Got to know him a little bit better the last event at Stoneville that we hosted. Great guy. He's probably truly I'd say a 187. Wouldn't you think? Probably. I think he walks around.
He said he was trying to put on weight for this. If you ever have to try to put on weight for a match, then you're probably not in the right weight class, in my opinion. Yeah. As we just saw with Devin, I think Kurt's probably a 187 guy.
I know when I've slow pulled with him, he's got a good hand though. I'm not going to take nothing
away.
He does. That'll be a good win for your brother if he can pull that off. Sure, certainly, Kurt's a good.
Yeah. The Welshes have some of the sickest forearm genetics I've ever seen. With the way they're Nick, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Hunter's like his wrist flexion and everything in his forearm is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
Hunter's so smooth, such a smooth puller. Nick too is one of the smoother, fundamentally technically sound pullers I've seen pull, and just Hunter's the same way. Very, very smooth, very textbook.
Yep.
But yeah, that's awesome. Good luck to your brother. What's your brother's name, by the way? What's
Chris. He goes by Bull. I know we have a Bull in South Carolina, but he's had Bull since he was in the military. So he goes by Bull as well. And but his name is Chris.
Well, good luck, Chris. Best of luck, you and Kurt. Y'all stay safe during that pull. And appreciate you, Nick, stepping in there. I know Ted reached out to our group of about a month ago or so, something like that, about reffing, and it's going to be hard to get down there, but definitely solid right man for the job for sure to ref that.
Yeah, man, it's no issue. It's always an honor to be able to ref the matches for some of the guys in my group.
Yeah, and let's talk about Adam and their event in Concord this weekend though. That's good for Adam, good for their team, Port City Pullers. What a great group of guys right there too out of Wilmington. Phenomenal. I had the pleasure of going and pulling with them. Adam, wow, Adam is on fire right now.
Yes, he is.
Adam is on fire. So, and what pisses me off the most is how humble and nice he is. I wish he was a bit of a jerk, so I could dislike him. I can't dislike the guy.
He's insanely humble. He's insanely humble.
I wish he was a jerk. I was like, gosh, he's so strapping looking and nice and good.
Yeah. And just so strong.
I hope they have a great turnout. I looked at the registration, bunch of names I liked. I saw on there. A couple of the 209 right-handers I saw. I think I'd locked up with about 2 or 3 of them. Of the 8 that had registered, I'm sure several more will fall in Saturday when they get there. But should be a good show, I think. Nick, you're reffing the North Carolina State games. Who is Connor reffing that with you as well?
I believe the other head ref is Connor Cook. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good, solid ref right there as well, Connor. Always feel safe in guys' hands like Connor. Is going to keep a good eye on the pullers as well. Call it fair. Connor did a hell of a job with that 176 round robin we hosted, and I'm still learning as a ref. I'm still coming up. I knew with that Tier A, having to deal with the likes of Joe Rogers and Damian and Greg Gray, that legit pullers who work the refs. I was like, that's more cut out for Dylan Bibb and Connor Cook. I'm not quite ready for that. You can't let us pullers take control of a match like that. The ref has to stay in. And Dylan's a little bit more of a jerk than I can be, so he's the best one for to keep the boys straight. But let's get into we talked a little bit about the events we got going on this week. Let's talk about y'all's team now. Who your team primarily consists of, who you got up and coming, any weaknesses Jonathan Cannon may have, be sure to share. But yeah, tell them about Carolina Rollers, guys. Just y'all got a lot of talent coming out of there. Shout out to Jonathan Buchanan. Seriously, looking forward to pulling you July 6th. Great guy. He's got me 1-0 right now in tournaments. I only challenged him because I know it's a good match. You know what I mean? And that's what I want. And but y'all got Lee. I'll let y'all share. Talk about your team, son, please.
Go ahead, Nick. Take it away.
I would say for the Rollers, we're kind of in a bit of a slump at the moment. So Levi 2, I'm talking about, he's been out. He's had, a bit of health issues. He's also in school. So that's, not take nothing away from him for that. That's the best thing, he could do for his life. So really right now, real consistent. It's me, Ted, and Bull or Chris, his brother. We're basically the real 3 consistent ones. Levi Rakowski, young Levi, he floats around. He's been training with Carolina Chaos a bit. I don't know exactly who he trains with at the moment.
Savage.
Team Savage. Okay. So he doesn't train with us too often. And then we have a bunch of guys who I'd call them floaters. They'll make a practice here and there. One of our guys, James McLeod, he'll come to a practice and he'll ride off in the sunset and we won't see him again for 2 months. But life right happens. Now, the real consistent is me, Ted, and Bull. So
we talked about this as our team. We're a lot of green guys on our team, and most of us have small kids. And certain times of the year, I'm a volleyball dad, so I'm MIA wintertime. November through March is absolute hell for me to make anything work. Willie's kids are in the softball. Softball season is hard for him. John has like 12 kids. It's hard for him to really get anything in, and one on the way, so we know we're going to lose him even more. Sean has to travel a bit. It's all life stuff that keeps us away. It's not passion whatsoever. It's not, and we're all still training on our tables at home, gym time, things like that. But it's really when life hits. I know Nick, you've got small kids as well, at least one I know of. as they get a little older, it's really hard. You have to really sacrifice something, whether it's maybe your couch time, your TV time, or something to really stay into it. But it's what drives us to keep getting better. That's for sure.
Right, right.
But I know Levi Radkowski has he's pulling this week at Redmond's as well. Michael Broom.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's an interesting matchup. I like that a lot.
It's a real tall order for young Levi. I'm just gonna speak freely because I don't pull punches. I love my team and I root for them, and I really do believe that he has a hell of a shot. But if he makes the mistake of sinking into Broom's power, Broom will beat him.
To piggyback off of you, I think Levi holds that hit. If Broom catches the hit, it's his match.
It depends on how the hit happens. I'm not going to give too much away, because we have been working a little bit on a different type of hit. If he hits a different way, even if Broom stops it and he gets what he needs, it won't matter. Levi will still take it. But if Levi hits traditionally, like he does, like he has with similar style pullers as Broom, and Broom catches it, then Broom's gonna win.
Yeah, it's both of them. I have a ton of respect for Levi as a person too. I've had side conversation with him, and just a phenomenal young man. I wish I had my head straight at 17. Phenomenal young man. His potential is through the freaking roof.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that y'all have not. Because when I first came into pulling, he was primarily with y'all, I believe. He wasn't quite with Chaos and W and him hadn't really started up yet. He was just Carolina Rollers, and y'all did not shelter him at all. I mean, he was pulling studs for the last 2+ years. He's been pulling absolute studs.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very, very adamant about he wants to pull the biggest and best that he possibly can, and see where he's at. And raw power, he's got it. It's a matter of fine-tuning his technique and trusting his wrist flexion is some of the best I've ever seen at just about any level that I've ever pulled against. And his wrist flexion is amazing. And if you learn how to trust that with using your pronation to back it up, he could be an absolutely deadly puller. So it's just about fine-tuning things. And Nick and I have worked on him a bunch with different hits and different ways of pulling and stuff like that. And if he starts to really feel comfortable in those lanes, you're going to see, like, I hate to use the term a 2.0, but you're going to see a real monster on the table that you just haven't seen before out of him. Because, I mean, he's got really, really good strength, but it's a matter of putting the polish on it in the lanes that he needs to put it on.
And unlike us, he's got 8 more years to grow.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, the difference that we've seen in him since he first started to now has been unfriggin' real. And I mean, I've grown so much in 3 years, and yet he superseded me within the first year and a half that he pulled. And it was incredible because, like, I used to crack his wrist like a piece of glass. And then all of a sudden, that was the part that was unbreakable. It was absolutely incredible to see how fast his hand and wrist really came along. Because we all know that's usually a very hard thing to do, to get your hand and wrist to catch your arm. His hand and wrist has passed his arm, and it's absolutely incredible.
What I respect about him, he's 17 and he's spending his time training for arm wrestling when he's at home and not out doing the crap I was doing. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to really get into that, but he's not taking those same paths. So it's nothing but the utmost respect I have for a young man like that. And I was sure when I talked to his dad last month, I was like, a father needs to hear that compliment about their child, and I wanted him to hear that. Hey, you did one hell of a job, this young man. So,
absolutely.
And so I know Von Cannon. I hadn't talked to him in a few weeks. He had told me he's still looking good for July 6th, though. So I'm looking forward to pulling him. And talking about Levi too, though, I want to back up to Levi too. He looked great at Conquest? Was it Conquest?
Yeah.
He looked phenomenal there. He looked great though.
Yeah.
Levi's got, I think he took second to you only, right, Nick? Is that right?
So left-handed, he got second. I took third place left-handed. And then right-handed, he got knocked out, I think a round or two before the semifinal.
Okay. I knew he did well though, because he and I had talked, and we was potentially talking about pulling, and I thought Levi was probably a little more of a reach for me from where I was at the time and having conversations with him. I thought Von Cannon was probably a little more in my era of a better match for the people, and so that's we set it on. But Levi had told me at the time he wasn't very active, so when I saw him show up at Conquest, I was really happy to see he was able to get it on the table, give him some table time.
It is a true pleasure anytime I get to pull with Levi. He tests me in lanes that even Nick can't, which is absolutely amazing, and it's a hell of a compliment for Levi, because Nick, like you said, is a hugely technical puller that you can ask him. I lean on him a lot when I have matches that I really, really care about and I really, really want to show up for. I lean on him quite a bit to be my training partner, because I need him to mimic the guy, or I need him to expose my weaknesses and let's work on them. And same thing with this. I mean, we studied video and we found the lane, right, Nick? We found the lane, and that lane,
we did.
Yeah, that lane was even able to put brakes on him, which I don't put the brakes on Nick very often. And I was able to put the brakes on him and get him to pop his veins and turn red. And I'm sitting there laughing at him. So it was good because we found it together, and then the lane worked so well that even he couldn't get through it. So I was like, that made me really, really confident, because if he can't get through something, no offense to Logan, but he sure as hell isn't. So
yeah, I've seen Logan in person. I don't think I've ever locked up with him. I don't really have much of a take on him. Truthfully, I don't really. Seems fast. That's about the only.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's about all I really got. Only take.
The only issue with Ted's prep so far is, since I've kind of been the practice team puller, I've learned to arm wrestle like 6 other guys. I've learned so many styles.
Nice. Very nice. I wanted to take this time that I had y'all both on here together. I wanted to take the time to thank y'all too for really leading the efforts, and I will say revamping. Johnny Edwards and Dez did a great job holding down the Carolinas rankings for so long, and we know how strenuous it takes, how much work it takes, and y'all two have really led the efforts in getting the North Carolina rankings going, and doing it fairly and smartly. And smartly, is that smart? Is that a word? Doing it fair and smart, and taking in the feedback of a lot of other key folks around the state that put in the effort and want to see greatness. So I want to take that time from the state of North Carolina to thank y'all for that. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think y'all done a hell of a job, really doing it the right way. As it has to start one way, and that starts with probably dropping some names in a hat in most cases. You can't really always just get a round robin, because most of the time the best can't make it to a round robin, and then everybody's gonna have to trickle in. And I think y'all did it the right way, determining who the top 5 was in each class. And we've talked about this in our group before. I'm really looking forward to when the females start spread, and we start getting a bigger weight class there. And we've got so many, especially in that 187. Well, the 85 through 105, where I don't think they know what weight class they are just yet, and trying to let people figure out where their weight classes are going to be. And that may be the me and the Hausers, the Teds, and folks like that. But and hell, even Redmond right now is talking about he may go back to 176. He's the way he's walking around. So it's just, it can really get mixed up in that 65 to 105 kilogram right now, where everybody's at. So it's crazy.
Yeah. After this match, I mean, I'm going to focus really, really hard on, lifestyle changes, right? Because like I don't know, if we can, I'm pretty lean here, right?
Yeah.
Through here, through the arms, my legs. Nick knows this because we've talked about this quite a bit. My shoulders have striations when I go. You could see everything, right? But I hold about 30 pounds of fat in my gut, and it's really annoying because when I'm cutting, and again, Nick knows every part of this because I share it all with him. I could be at 1,600 to 1,700 calories at 6'1", 240 plus, and that's what I need to do in order to lose weight, even at 1 to 2 pounds a week. I need to have just an extremely low amount of calories, which just kills me because through my testing, I've kind of noticed that I have higher than average hunger signals and lower than average metabolism. It's the worst possible combination because I'm starving all the fucking time. Excuse me. I didn't know if you could curse here, but Okay.
You're
But I
fine.
mean, yeah, so it's the worst possible combination. And Nick knows I go through hell to cut. And it's not like, it's not like I'm cutting muscle because I'm not. I'm just cutting the fat off my gut. But it's absolute hell. It's a nightmare.
Do you do
But
water
after
load? I can't remember. Do you do water load diet? I can't remember.
I do I do I do the water cycle for the last week. So that's my last 10 to 11 pounds is the water. So I do a typical water cycle. You load up front and then you just taper it off. So I do that. But I mean, as far as like just because I eat clean all the time, what I've been drinking, I know everybody's probably like, oh, he's been drinking soda. No, it's zero.
Yeah.
I don't drink anything but zero or water. I literally have that's it. That's literally all I drink. I don't drink soda. I don't drink, fruit drinks. I don't drink anything like that. If it's anything that has some sort of sweetener, it's always zero.
Yeah.
And mostly water. And then my food is very, very high in protein. And if I'm eating carbs at all, it's rice and potatoes. You know what I mean? So it's very clean eating. So it's not like I'm doing anything garbage. And I still have a very hard time around the gut. So it's a nightmare. So I'm trying to do lifestyle changes to figure all of this shit out after this match where I can walk around at, let's say, max 240, but a good body composition at 240, and then do my water cut to that 231 and make it happen,
Yeah, that's a solid plan. I get where you come from too. I struggle with, I'm type 2 diabetic, so I struggle with that. Water load diet does not work for me. It sends my body into a shock that I can't explain, and I'm down for 2 or 3 days after it. It just does that to me. I had a super match versus Matt McDonald, and my first time I did a water load, and not only was I pure shit versus him, but I had a crash that night after the match, and I was down the next day after that. So it took
Man.
I can't do it. So I walk around about 215, and that's why this 209 works for me perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't even notice a 6 pound cut. You don't even have to really work for a 6 pound
Absolutely.
cut.
No, you're right. But I mean, like
the 198's rough though. The 198 is rough.
For instance, I'm walking around at, if I'm just eating clean, not overloading, not doing ice cream cookies or any of that bullshit, I walk around at 255 to 260. Like that's where my body it wants to be right now, but it's a ton of fat around the gut. Now everything else is lean, like I said, and you guys will see that at Redmond's. I mean, Nick obviously knows, but you'll see it at Redmond's. I'm lean everywhere else.
And you're active. I mean, you're active at home. I see you working out all the time. You're active. Yeah. I like your sedentary. You're active. So we're not all lean like Nick. Nick's just got pure not ready to rock.
Nick's a stud, man. Nick's a stud.
Nah, man.
What do you?
It's all an illusion. It's an illusion.
What's your walk around weight, Nick?
So ever since January, I don't think I've been heavier than like 194, 195. Even when I competed at Conquest in the 198 class, I think I was like 197 with my clothes and shoes on. Yeah. This morning, I'm hovering around the 186 mark or so.
Yeah, that 187 is beautiful for you. If you really had to make the 65 would be tough. 165 would be tough. But that 180 because you don't have much meat on you. But and you're tall. What are you, 6'2"?
No, man. I'm like 5'11" and a hair. I tell everyone 6 foot.
He looks like he's a 6 footer. I'm 6'1", he's 6 foot. Yeah, that's what I always say.
Taller than 6, really. I was thinking he was about 6'1", 6'2". I'm 5'2", so everybody looks 6'2" to me. I'll joke aside, but yeah, I wasn't sure what you want. I knew we talked at Conquest, and you practically didn't weigh in, and then 187. I love the North Carolina weights. I'm just gonna be honest. I love the weight classes in North Carolina. For me personally, they just set up well.
Well, yeah. I mean, we looked at it like, I mean, I know you were brought in kind of, after everything was started, as far as that goes. But like Nick and I sat down and said, since East vs. West and King of the Table are basically the biggest, genres, or not genres, but media out there right now, events out there. We said, why not just mimic what they're doing, right? Because if they're the biggest out there, then we might as well mimic what they're doing, and it made sense because what we had before, don't get me wrong, I know they did a great job on it, but like it was up to 225 and then it was 225 plus. Well, you know, if you're 230 or 240 and you're facing somebody like a pork chop or something like that, man, it ain't fun. It ain't fun. And I don't care that I got the better of him and all that. Yeah, that was really cool. And I felt great. That was the hardest match by magnitudes that I've ever had.
That didn't feel great.
No, it did not feel great. I lost my hearing. I lost my hearing for about 5 minutes. I lost my sight for about 10 minutes. Like the adrenaline spiked so hard that I felt like I tore both of my pecs. I couldn't breathe. My brother thought I was dying, like legitimately dying. I thought I was dying. You know, so yeah, it was not fun. Like, don't get me wrong, super hyped that I did it, that I was able to do it, but the adrenaline, spike and then dump afterwards, the limits that I had to go to in order to do it, not fun. Don't want to do it again.
I can't wait to cut up with you guys next weekend. It's really looking, this card has just turned out to be so huge, and the amount of talent that's there across the state and from South Carolina, Tennessee. I think we got boys from West Virginia down. It's just all over the place. And it's really looking to be a blast next weekend down at Redmond's. Wanted to talk a little bit about like the arm wrestling community in general. Y'all have heard me talk about it before. I know what it's done for me, and I don't want to make this part about me because I could give the same rant every single episode. But I want to, let's start with you, Nick. Tell us about what the arm wrestling community kind of what it means to you in the last 4.5 years, 5 years that you've been into it.
For me, coming off high school sports, playing football, this very much like a second opportunity to be active in life and have something that is a competitive sport where the longevity and the ability to compete as you age, it almost doesn't even, it's not even like it diminishes. It's almost like your ability goes up as you get that grown man strength. I started when I was 21, and you would think, as you age, you get up in your 20s, 30s, 40s, the joints and stuff start to hurt, which they do, obviously. But like the ability to, get that stiffness in your arm, your shoulders, and your elbows, and be like, "Oh, this is awesome! Nobody can move me now." So, like I said, it's a second opportunity. The community is amazing. Some of the best friends that I've ever made in my life have been from the arm wrestling community. Ted, for example, he's one of. I think I talk to Ted more than anybody than just about, like, besides my wife, my family. I talk to Ted more than anybody. The guys in our group, I love every one of them. I'd do anything for them. So, it's been amazing for me. It's a wonderful experience. I'm just grateful to have it in my life.
That's awesome, man. Well said, Nick. Ted, tell us a little bit about what it means to you.
So yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but I'll share it. So I grew up as a fighter. That's what I did. I started with the stupid point contact, tournament. I shouldn't say stupid. It's a great stepping stone, but the point contact, you don't really do any contact. It's just points, tournaments. And then I went into full contact tournaments. I've done some MMA, etc. Never at a pro level. So don't think I'm trying to, but I've done it for most of my life. And that was always a really good adrenaline for me, right? Like I really wanted that. It felt great for me. And I love the mano and mano, man versus man type, look you in the eye and let's have a fight. I lost a lot of that. You know what I mean? When I realized that I was getting a little long in the tooth for fighting and it wasn't as much fun as it used to be, I have a family now, etc. It started getting a little bit, taxing on me and it wasn't as much fun. I blew out my knee and stuff like that. Well, when I came across arm wrestling, and I think I came across it like most of us did with, watching Devin Larratt and finding out that there was basically Tinder for arm wrestlers. It was called Arm Bet. So when I found that, I found Dan Coral, who's a member of our team and also a pastor, and we arm wrestled at his church. And it was amazing to me that this little man that was very unimpressive, no offense, Dan, but he did not look very impressive in any way, shape, or form. And I was 270 fat body at the time, and I couldn't move him. I mean, at all, could not move him. And he would just hold me center table and tell me how strong I was. And then I got to compete at my first tournament, and it was Nick's tournament. So I got to meet Nick as the promoter of that tournament, and man, that was it. I was bit. I got into a war with Isaac Perry that day, and that was the first time that I felt my arm swell up. And I mean, it swelled up like 5 times the size it should have been. And I lost the match, but even James Sperlin turned around and grabbed a hold of my wife and said, "Don't let him quit. Don't let him quit. He's got something in him. Don't let him quit." And I instantly found that missing piece. It was like being in martial arts all over again. It was like being in the cage all over again. Like I got to stare into a man's eyes, and we went to war. We had that battle. So for me, it is very much like, that's why I fell in love with Devin so much. It's very much a martial art. It's very much a battle. It's very much a fight. And I'm friends beforehand. I'm friends afterwards. But during that match, I am not your friend. I am not anything but the guy trying to beat you in any way I can. That's it. Yeah, it's work and it's war. And I've come to play for real. And that's not talking shit. It's just how I feel.
That's how we all should. You got to keep your emotions detached during that point, and you got to stay focused. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't. And I've been on the other side of that where I wouldn't dare disrespect. I mentioned a name in this, but I see their kids yelling, and I hear their wife yelling, and you got to drown that out.
Yeah.
And just kind of. You wouldn't want them to take it easy on you, truthfully.
No, hell no. Hell no. You want them to bring their best, because when you beat them, you beat their best.
Yeah.
And you have to hang your hat on that. I beat the best version of you. And I don't listen to the excuses afterwards, because I've had that. Nick knows it. I've had it after some very, very big wins. All of a sudden, the excuses of, oh, this was hurt, or that was hurt, or I did this. You know what? I don't care. You stepped up to the table. You put your elbow on the pad. I beat you. You were prepared for it. I beat the best version of you today. Period.
You're about to spring one on me right there. That is a very sensitive subject to me.
I don't pay attention to that, man.
So you get away with that, because we'll be on here another 35 minutes if I get to talking about that.
but really quickly, I want to just piggyback off of what Nick said. I cannot express enough, and this is kind of deep for me, so just bear with me. I cannot express enough how this community has saved my life in so many different ways. I love my team. I love Nick like a brother. Nothing I wouldn't do for him or his family. That's the God's honest truth. There is I love Levi like a son, and I still want to kick his ass every time I get on the table with him, but I love him like a son. And I know he's in chat right now, but it's the God's honest truth. Like, I love that kid, but God, do I want to whoop his ass every time we lock up. But this community has done so much for me in so many different ways. It's not even funny. And now my brother's getting to compete in it as well. You know what I mean?
That probably helped a lot right there.
Yeah, it really does. And then, when I'm working out, you were talking about how we have to balance our family time and our workout time. When I'm working out, my daughter has a little weight back here, and Nick's seen it. When I'm doing my singles or my reps or whatever, my daughter will grab that little karate belt with a 2.5 pound weight on it and do it with me and go, "Daddy, I strong." And I'm like, "Yeah, you are." And I get to have that moment with her too. So,
your wife is super supportive too. Your wife said everything.
Well, my wife makes the shirts, and she makes awards and, all of that stuff. And she absolutely loves it. And she damn near flipped the table when I beat Pork Chop at Camel City. She was announcing the matches, and she's screaming in the background. She stood up so quick, she almost flipped the table. Yes, that is my biggest supporter. That is my rock, my soulmate, my ride or die, whatever you want to say. That is
noticed. So she just let her know. I said it is noticed that she's a huge supporter. Definitely noticed.
And she always steps in, man. Like, it's no secret. So I'm not gonna. I don't think it's disrespecting by saying what actually happened. When we were at Carnage, James Rodriguez was doing the announcing. Something happened where it just triggered him. He got up and left the building. And I mean, like, literally, just in the middle of announcing, just got up and left the building. You know who stepped in and did it? My wife. Nice. My wife just stepped in and did the rest of the announcing and did the rest of the call outs. And I can never thank her enough for shit like that, because at Camel City, she's our announcer, she's our tournament caller. And Nick and I work very, very close with him and with my wife and his wife. And we put that tournament on. And yeah, I know it's a small one. It's 100 pullers max. That's what we allow, but it's ours. We
Yeah.
built it, you know, it's ours and we love it. It's a great community that goes there. And I'm hoping to kick the shit out of Derek Lyles this year. We'll see what happens. But and I know Levi's looking for a rankings match there too, which I'm not going to blow the lid off of that, but he's looking for a match. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Well said, fellas. The last topic I always like to touch base on because I think it's what the arm wrestling community is my favorite topic because it's where my passion is. Even aside from my skill level, the connection I found with the community. But to me, I think the viewers sometimes who we have tune in, the most important topic may be advice towards new pullers. Y'all have a wide range of ages on y'all's team, from younger guys to older guys. You've had greener guys come through. And I'm always sure to keep my ear open at this topic because I'm still 2 years in, just over 2 years. I'm learning every single day. I'm learning still. What advice, and Ted, we'll start with you on this. What advice would you give, male, female, regardless of age, somebody that walks into y'all's club that day to pull? What advice are you giving he or she?
The first thing that I always tell people is when they're walking in. So from the puller's perspective, from the new puller's perspective, learn, sit, learn, watch. From the people that are going to be gripping up with them that know more, keep them safe. Don't ever pin them. Ever. Don't pin them. I personally lean towards always outside pulling because it's going to keep you safer longer. So like for a new puller, I'm always teaching them a posting, a high posting style first, because again, it's going to keep you safer longer. You're less prone to have an injury if you're pulling back instead of pulling sideways. And also I always tell this, and I told my brother this too, stay the hell away from the weights for at least 3 months. I don't want you using weights. I want you doing nothing but bands, and I want you doing table time once a week. That's it.
Elaborate a little bit more about that, Ted. I'd like to hear that.
One of the most common things that I see with any one of our team and any of the teams that I've seen pull is that when you jump in, it's a sprint. I want to be Devin Larratt. I want to be Michael Todd. I want to be this.
Right.
It's a marathon. Okay. So don't burn yourself out. Don't injure yourself. Don't tax your system more than it needs to be. You're going to be doing new things that your body's never done before. So work that out on the table and use bands for blood flow. Do not touch a freaking weight. Okay. I want to see your exercise be on the table. And I'm not talking about like if you do bench presses and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I mean arm wrestling specific stuff. I don't want to see you doing back pressure stuff. I don't want to see you doing pronation, supination, presses. I don't want to see any of that. I just want to see you using a band for blood flow for recovery and make it to practice once a week for 3 months straight. And then after that, let's talk about maybe a small workout regimen that might start bringing you up that way, and then competitions and stuff like that. But first starting out, stay the hell away from the weights, stay on the table, pull outside, and use bands for blood flow.
I want to let Nick go first, and then I want to come back to one topic, and it's going to piggyback off of what you said as far as guys jumping in a little soon. But I want to come back to it. Nick, tell us what advice as a coach and co-captain for y'all's team, new male or female coming into the club for their first time. How are you going to talk to them?
One thing that Ted said that really stood out to me is what I was going to bring up is he said it's a marathon. I'd say be patient. I'd add to that, be humble. Unless you're a genetic freak, if you're like 99% of us, you're going to come in and you're not going to be strong out the gates. Get with a good group. If I'm talking to the guys who are experienced, who are working with new guys, let them pin you. Like Ted said, if you're not strong enough to let them pin you, get somebody who's stronger. Work the angles where they're safe. Don't let them hurt themselves. Make sure everything is fundamental to begin with. We can work on, setting hooks, crazy top rolls, outside moves, flop presses. We can work on that down the line. But I want to see everybody, starting out, cup wrist, back pressure, leaning, but everything inside the body tight, nothing crazy. And you should be working that angle for months and months, getting that fluid, smooth. That's the position where you want to end up at. That's like fundamental arm wrestling. That's the advice I give. And like I said, it's going to take a lot of time. I got a lot of losses before I ever picked up any wins.
Got a whole lot more losses than I do wins, brother.
Yep.
A whole lot more losses. Not as of late, thank God, but getting started, shoot, man, shoot. I wanted to go back a little bit to one of Ted's points, and you touched on it too. And I'm going to give a real life situation that's happening right now. I'm not going to name any names. If there's anybody in the chat, some of you may know what I'm talking about, please do not mention this individual's name. We try to stay away from disrespecting anything that comes across as a personal attack. But this is an individual in the arm wrestling community right now. He just got started. He was with a good team, pulling with them, and very resistant to listening, wasn't wanting to listen to them, not taking their advice from solid pulls that's been around for several years pulling. Immediately ventured out to start his own team, which coming from somebody that started their team out the gate is a no-no. Don't do that. And this is coming from somebody that instead of joining a team that had tenured pullers, experienced pullers, thought of starting his own. Do not make the same mistake as me. Get with people who know what they're doing first. And this individual has branched out to his own team with other brand new guys and doesn't even know the right techniques and the right habits to teach just yet, and is jumping right into a super match, a ranking challenge in his dedicated state. And we're having to have side conversations about this person, about the fear we have in him getting hurt on the table.
Absolutely.
Going against his experience and very good. And I'm having to have conversations with your opponent about keep this guy out of a bad position so he doesn't end his career right here on the table. It's not a good thing. You should not. And this is so, to what Ted said, listen to people that know what they're talking about. Stay humble. Open your ears. Be a sponge. I promise you, you don't know shit your first year into the sport, really. And I don't have a better way of putting that because I was that knucklehead. So, like I said,
We all were. Every single one of us was.
We all think we're strong until you hit that table. And but the last thing I want to see, because I've been subjected to some injuries as of late, is another individual let his pride and his ego get. And I had not. Let me take that back. Pride and ego did not cause those individuals to get injured. So don't let me say that. That did not happen. I don't want to see an injury occur due to pride or ego when it can be avoided. So,
well, you know the saying, iron sharpens iron, but you gotta have some iron you're working with before you can start sharpening anybody else's iron. You know what I mean?
I tell people all the time, I love my team and we're solid. We're great guys and we're close and we could have always been a team. And that's why we do not hate on each other, floating around and pulling with other teams to learn and bring that knowledge back to us because we are still learning. We're very green. I mean, I've got about 30 seconds more than Willie table time and about 2.5 years. And, we're still learning. We're very, very, very young. So we do not hate on each other going out and learning from other folks to bring that back.
I got to pull Willie not that long ago. I know you want to wrap this up, but I got to tell you, I got to pull Willie not that long ago. And it was at Bradley's place. And man, I got to tell you, you got a hell of a teammate there. Real strong, real humble, real nice guy. He's got a little bit of work to do as far as polishing things up, but he's really good. Like he's really got a good set of bones, a good structure. So
it's a pleasure of knowing Willie his entire life. He and I grew up together, and to see the growth he's going through now and taking something so passionate and really overworking himself. I've really had to jump that boy lately about he's putting in too much between the gym and the table. He's pushed himself too much, and he's got to heal up. I admire his work ethic and his desire and his passion. And I told him, I said, boy, you got to be smarter. You're going hard as hell, but you got to be smarter right now. But he had a great showing versus Jake Colson, who was a tall drink of water. That's a tall order right there. And Jake Colson out of West Virginia. And he put on a good match with him. And one of the best battles I've seen live on the table, probably the best match I've ever reffed with him and Isaiah Gonzalez in a left-handed match. That was an absolute beauty to watch. I think we had 11 restarts on that match. 11 restarts. A hell of a match. But anyways, that does I tell people learn from my mistakes, and I'm not saying I wouldn't necessarily create a team, but I would have took that team and we hooked up with the Carolina Rollers or the Garage Crew or these your average arm wrestlers, Damian and them. I would have
taken those guys, holy shit, are they coming up hard. Like those guys. I got to practice with them not that long ago, and my God, they got some talent on that team too, boy.
And you were talking about guys that float around to different teams too, and I want to plug him because he's actually taught me a whole lot, and he did this past weekend. Is Nelson Smith, Nelly?
Yeah,
Nelly's coming.
He taught me that my bicep wasn't attached as well as I thought it was.
Nelly he's very technical. He's smart. He's loose too. He's a little wild, so be careful if you're not wanting to go all out. He's not who you probably need to hit the table with.
Yeah,
but
I got a bone to pick with Nelly. He's the reason I got to pull Brandon Moody again.
yeah. I've got to run it back with Nelly. It won't be for rankings because obviously he's where he should be at 209. But yeah, I've got to. Yeah, he's a big 209. But hell, he was a big 220. But I mean, it's funny because I cut down. What was it? I made 224 for our match, and he had to struggle to hit 221. And I was, and it was a weird day. I know you weren't there to see it, but it was a weird day. During the match, his speed is what killed me, and it gave me a mid muscle tear at the bottom of my bicep. But that whole day, I still arm wrestled. I just, told everybody, don't hit, nice and slow. We pressure up. The rest of the day, he couldn't touch me. Nick was there. He watched it. Nick, he couldn't touch me. But every time he just, forgot just for an instant and went like this, I was instantly disconnected. His speed on that hit is so crisp and so powerful. He really is. His trajectory is like this.
He's one of my favorite people to watch. I like to watch real intense pullers.
Yeah.
The Nellies, the Bo Horners, Zach Lees. I love real intense pullers. And, he's fun to watch. Nelly's really fun. I think, once again, we're talking about young guys. Nelly just graduated college. He's 22, 21. Sky's the limit for that guy, too.
Oh, he's incredible. I've told him before.
He's got a frame to put some great size on.
He could be easily 255, 260, pure muscle. No problem. No problem. Absolutely. But, I mean, he should probably grow into it nice and slow. He's doing a really good job. He's strong as hell. I know when he shaved his head the first time, he walked down to Damien's crew and they were like, Devin? Like they honestly thought Devin had showed up for the practice. It's incredible.
I'm all for Nelly gaining weight. Nelly, you gain all the weight you want, bud.
Yeah, because stay out of hell 209.
Gain all the weight you want.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I wanted to thank y'all for hopping on. I've been looking forward to this one with y'all for a while. I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all next weekend, getting to meet your families, getting to some after pulls in. Haven't got to after pull either one of y'all a whole lot. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I need to get down to a Fayetteville Dunn area and plug to Carolina Rollers. Guys, North Carolina has got several teams across it. I just want to plug North Carolina Arm Wrestling real quick, too, in the way it's coming up. North Carolina between Mountain Mayhem, Garage Crew, Carolina Rollers, Silverbacks, Team Savage, Mountaineer, Portland, Port City Pullers. I'm sure I'm missing some right now. Isaiah Gonzalez and his team, Rise Arm Wrestling. There are teams all over North Carolina. And, hit one of us up on Messenger. We'll put you with the closest one wherever you are. If you're in the Fayetteville Dunn area, please get by, hit up Ted, Nick, and see if they're happen to be practicing that weekend. Get a hold of some good hands. But, I probably don't plug the teams enough if you're traveling, holler at somebody. We'll find you somewhere to pull. I promise you.
We just got a new guy that I'm just going to tell you from everything I'm seeing, give it a year, and the boy's going to be attacking a whole bunch of lists. Just saying. Give it a year.
We'll leave it at that, huh? Well, as long as his name doesn't rhyme with Schmun Cannon, I'm okay with that. So,
no, you're going to have a good match there. I think it's actually a really good match between you two. I really do. This guy I'm talking about, if he's anything but a super heavyweight, I don't believe it. He's going to be. I mean, he's what, 3-something?
He's like 300 pounds and 6'3".
Yeah. And we just picked him up on our team, and I'm telling you, he's brand new. He's green, but you give him a year. Oh, he's gonna be hurting some feelings. He's gonna be hurting some feelings.
And polish him up, boys. Y'all will. Y'all the right support. That's for sure. You'll put a new time on him. That's for sure. Fellas, once again, I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to y'all later this week. I look forward to seeing y'all next weekend, folks. Thank y'all all for tuning in as always.
Thank you,
everybody. About today. Think about yesterday. What you're doing to make the community better. Fellas, y'all have a great week, great weekend, and happy Father's Day to both of y'all too.
Happy Father's Day to both of you.
Happy Father's Day.
Good night, guys.